this video is to show you some evidence of chemical reactions as well as to show you the law of conservation of mass. So on my scale here, you'll see that I have a cup and I have got 2 test tubes in it, and you'll notice that I have a clear liquid in both of these. So my liquid is clear as I start, and we also need to make note of the mass. So we're taking the entire mass here of the cup and the 2 test tubes. So our beginning mass in this experiment is going to be 47.3. So we're going to leave off the 04 stuff because you're going to see that particularly this thousandths place will often change just depending upon how much I shake the desk. So it's going to change because that's a really sensitive number. To give you an idea, this entire setup weighs 47.3 grams. A paper clip weighs 1 gram. So this is basically like 1,000th of a paper clip, and we're talking about the little paper clips also. So to give you an idea, we're going to just ignore this because it's going all over the place. We're just looking at that 10th decimal place. So 47.3 is what I got. 47.3 grams, and I'm going to put that in the chat pod so we can keep up with that. That is our starting mass. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a chemical reaction. So on top of demonstrating the law of conservation of mass, we're also going to see some of the signs that a chemical change has occurred. The sign you're going to see is the one that people probably forget about the most. So let's go ahead and react these two. So I am going to pour one into the other. Remember, they're both clear, and watch what happens in the test tube that you can see. Pouring. There it goes. Look at that. So I'm pouring these two together, and look what I get. So think about some signs that you have seen a chemical change. Clearly, you got a color change. But that color change is actually caused by a precipitate. We talked about precipitate in our lessons, and a precipitate is also a sign of a chemical reaction. So we added 2 clear liquids together, and believe it or not, that's a suspended solid. So those are little tiny solid particles that are suspended in a liquid, and that's what the precipitate is. So I'm going to put that in the chat pod so that you can see how to actually spell that and what the word looks like. Precipitate. Okay, so I've got everything back in, everything that I started with, back into everything's back into the cup that we started with. Okay, so we're going to let it just go up and down for just a second here. 47.294. Clearly, we're going to be able to round that up to 47.3. So although there was on our hundredths and thousandths place, although there was a little bit of change here, it's so negligible that you're able to say that really you didn't lose, you really did not lose mass. Okay, so 47.3 grams to start with, 47.3 grams to finish with. So this demonstrates the law of conservation of mass as well as a chemical reaction showing a precipitate. So I also want to show you this. I've let this one settle out for a while, so now you can really see that there are solid particles floating in. That's a good view of it right there because it's magnifying a little bit. There are solid particles floating in the liquid. And also there's a whole bunch of the solid at the bottom. So I just let this set for just a little while, and that's what actually happened. So the precipitate actually settled out. And it settled to the bottom, showing you that a precipitate formed, which is a solid. Okay, so we've just demonstrated the law of conservation of mass, showing that whatever I start with, whatever my reactants are, I must end with on my product side. And that's going to lead us into equations. So that's going to lead us into balancing equations and the need for balancing equations. So that's what our next video will be about. Thank you for watching this video.